A Makita battery powered soldering iron. I got this off eBay a couple of days ago while I was looking for low voltage soldering irons. I'll talk about that a bit later, but it runs off a standard lithium ion Makita battery. These batteries are actually used with my line trimmer, and they're available in several different amp hour capacities. This one's 3 amps and 18 volts. Apparently there's a battery which is the same size, which is 14 volts. Now, the soldering iron itself is not a Makita product, and I have my doubts that Makita would actually approve of such a thing. So it's just one of these cheap Chinese eBay things, but it actually turns out to be really good quality, which is why I've decided to do the video on it. It's supposedly 60 watts, but as we shall see, that's not entirely true. It comes in a box with no brand, so it's just got a model number YS-2023, and inside instructions in the usual multilingual format. But interestingly, the specifications don't actually tell you a lot about it. Okay, so it says power 60 watts, but not what the voltage rating is. And the only way I've been able to sort of determine that is from the various eBay ads. Some say 14 volts, some say 18, some say 21. And aside from that, what to do about the tips, because soldering iron tips don't last forever. And they do mention a 936M for that, and when I went looking, I discovered that that's actually Hakko. So what we've got here is a knockoff, essentially, of a Hakko soldering iron as far as the element and the tip are concerned, which is very convenient because it means that spares are readily available and they've been cloned, so they're cheaply available on eBay. And interesting thing about this tip is that it's actually hollow and it slips over the ceramic element. Thus, the soldering iron is temperature controlled, and I sort of regard that as being an essential thing for any proper soldering. Yeah, I've been using temperature controlled irons for about, the last 30 something years, and I wouldn't go back to the cheap non-temperature controlled ones. The quality of the soldering is just a hell of a lot better. I'll just open up the soldering iron itself just to show you what's in it. Because you'll see that it's got a Hakko element or clone thereof, which apparently is rated at 24 volts. So I'll just slide that out. So there's 4 wires coming out of the element. The 2 red ones are for the actual heater, and in parallel with that is a surface mount red LED and a series resistor, and the blue wires are the thermistor. So it's getting thermal feedback, and inside the control unit it knows how to adjust the duty cycle. To To operate it, it's just a matter of pressing down the positive or plus button for a couple of seconds, and it'll then come up with the iron temperature, which goes from 300 up to 510 degrees centigrade. My preference is around 420, which corresponds to the Weller number 8 tip. Now the display here is not the actual temperature of the iron, but rather the maximum temperature that the iron will get up to before it starts regulating the temperature. So according to this, it'll get up to 420 degrees, but no more. And the only thing I would improve on this is the quality of this cable. It's that cheap Chinese cable which just doesn't have the flexibility that it should. And I actually wonder if it's just copper-coated aluminium cable, or if it's the real thing. But anyway, I mean, that's just a very minor thing. I mean, aside from that, I'm really pleased with it, and you can't beat the price. I bought this for $33, but I've seen them down to $19 something on AliExpress, and they go up to about $36, something like that. So I mean, to get an iron of this quality temperature controlled for that price, I mean, that's just amazing. Anyway, I'll just do a quick demo on this car radio, which you've probably been wondering what it is. I'll just do this tag strip. As you can see, it melts straight away. So that's definitely adequate for your valve sockets and tag strips. And over here is what I would call a light duty chassis connection. Just tighten that up and see how it goes with that. Okay, well, it's starting to melt that. So yeah, it's definitely, in terms of its heat output, it's definitely good as the Weller. I would like to use a chisel shaped tip though, but they're readily available. The pointy cone tips are better for PCBs and modern stuff like that. So that's the basic operation of the iron itself. And to turn it off, you just press the positive down for a couple of seconds. I'm not going to open up this controller yet because it's got the instruction label stuck across where the two halves separate, and I don't want to sort of damage that just yet while it's all new and shiny. Alright, so what I was saying about the power, is it really 60 watts? Well, what I'm going to do now is operate it off a bench power supply, which I've got handy here. This is 30 volt 3 amp, and I shall connect it up with due observance of polarity. So according to the battery, it goes on that way, so that should be negative, and that should be positive. So we're on 18 volts, and I'll just get it to switch on. Okay, so at 18 volts we're drawing, I'll just get my trusty FX39 calculator. So when the element's drawing power, it's 2.5 amps. So 2.5 times 18, so it's actually 45 watts. Now that's comparable to the Weller, which is 48, so no wonder it was working just as well. If we go down to its minimum voltage, which is meant to be 14, it's 15. Okay, now at 14 volts, wait for it to heat up again, it's drawing 2 amps, so that's only 28 watts. That's going to be pushing it if you're doing any valve stuff. You definitely want to be using a minimum 18 volt battery. Now 21 volts was the highest limit I could find on the eBay ads, and when we look at that, 21 volts times 3 amps, yeah, 63 watts. Okay, so their 60 watt quote is for a 21 volt battery, which is fine. But yeah, 45 watts on the 18 volt battery is all you really need. So why did I purchase this iron? Well, we'll talk about the expensive Weller irons now. Here has been my trusty soldering iron since 1990. Now, if it looks a bit strange and not like other Weller irons you've seen, that's because this part of it down here is all homemade. It's a Dick Smith Ziffy box. There's a Ferguson 24 volt 40 watt power transformer in it. The soldering iron stand, I can't remember where I got that from, but it fits the Weller soldering iron perfectly. Now these are temperature controlled. They operate on the Curie effect. So the ends of the tips here, when it gets up to a certain temperature, it loses magnetism and the magnetic switch opens, disconnecting the element. So it cools down to a certain point, heats up, and so forth. So like the Makita or Hakko knockoff, it also uses the duty cycle to control the temperature. And the tips have different ratings. These are both number 8s, which is 425 degrees centigrade. So they work really well. I used them at my work. We had them as standard. The catch is the elements are a small fortune. Now this is what they are. So you've got your nichrome wire, and it goes into this stainless steel tube, which is all sort of welded together so you can't service it. The problem is they don't last that long. Well, mine don't, or haven't been of late. And you're now paying at least between about $74 and $115 just for this. Yeah, 115 bucks. Can you believe that? And the reason I bought the Hakko knockoff is because I've replaced the element on this only about a week ago, and I've only got one more spare element for it, and after that, you know, that's it. I do have some of the genuine Weller soldering irons still new in sealed boxes. I've got about 3 or 4 of them. But once the same thing happens to them, you know, it's just not, you know, economical or even sensible to spend $115 on something like that. I mean, a few years ago they were only sort of, you know, around $35, and you know, I didn't have any objection to replacing them. So that's why I got curious looking around what I could potentially use in the future when I run out of elements. And I'm, yeah, very impressed with this, to the point where I'm actually thinking of getting an empty battery case, putting a 12 to 18 volt converter inside it, so I can run it off the 12 volt solar supply in the house. Yeah, so there it is. It's I'm really astonished at the quality of this, and first thing I'll do is get myself a set of more appropriate tips. Yeah, so yeah, I highly recommend it, and of course you've got the convenience of battery operation, so great for working on the car or something, or away from the mains. I mean, better than dragging around a battery and an inverter. You've got it all in the self-contained unit.